We're the Huge Movie Fanatics, and we are here with our review for Scream 3. Creative titles.
Yeah, those titles aren't that great.
But luckily enough, the movies are creative. This one is one that's kind of interesting because it's not done by Kevin Williamson. He was busy doing Dawson's at the time, Dawson's Creek. So his involvement was...
That's unfortunate. Do you feel like that's unfortunate? Like,
I do, but I don't, because I found I have this book about the Scream franchise. I found out what his original intent was, and it essentially became Scream 4.
yeah.
But the killer was going to be something ridiculous.
Oh.
Matthew Lillard signed on to be the killer in Scream 3 and reprise it as Stu, who hadn't died. And I was just like, no. So, at the end of the day, I'm very happy that it didn't.
Yeah.
But it was going to be set back, and it was going to be called Scream 3 Back to Woodsboro, which they mentioned in the movie Stab 3.
Oh, yeah.
Return to Woodsboro. And that's eventually what Scream 4 became, Woodsboro Life, and one of her family members was going to be involved. So that's where Scream 4 eventually went. So Scream 3, the one that we got, was the one written by Aaron Kruger. Awesome last name. I wonder if Wes hired him.
Yeah, I need to hire someone with the Kruger name, so hopefully he comes along.
It's got to be part of the mythos.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did a number on it. The first movie criticized the criticism of horror movies. The second movie criticized sequels. The third movie really criticizes Hollywood, but it's the least effective of the criticisms. What works with the movie is the characters. The Scream's always been about the characters. The returning characters in Scream 3 are what really make the film. You get the 5 survivors from 1, 2, and 3. Well, I say survivors loosely because one of them didn't survive. But you get Sidney, Dewey, Gale, Randy, and Cotton all back for Scream 3, even if it is for a scene. And that's what really works. And they've changed. Randy's the same as Randy was in Scream 2 because he kind of needed to be. Cotton has been given his dream. He's gone from convict in the first one to the face on everybody's television, which has always been his dream and admiration, and you see what he becomes with that. And I like that aspect. Courtney Cox has sort of regressed to being what she was in the first one, but you can tell she's not that character anymore. She's really forcing it. Dewey is doing the same thing. He's trying to force what he was in the first movie back onto himself, and that's not really who he is anymore. And then Sidney is just wrecked and shattered after what Mickey did to her in the second one. Which, if you go back and watch Scream 2, backtracking a tiny bit, you can figure out who kills who in all of Scream 2. Good. So Scream 3, that works. The weaknesses of Scream 3 is that the other characters aren't all that great, with the exception of Parker Posey. She was fabulous. Having a foil for Gale was just brilliant, and the two played off each other so damn well. Oh. That really works. And I kind of like the cop aspect with Patrick Dempsey. That kind of worked too. I give the movie 3 stars. I like the intent of the movie. I like the message at the end where Sidney flat out states which she should have said all along, and this is the thing that really cures her, is that she doesn't need to hear the motive because it doesn't matter. People choose to kill people. You can't explain it any other way, and the movie has a really freaking convoluted backstory upon backstory about Sidney's mother and her infidelities, which are brought up in the first movie, and it's great that her character sort of is the through line of 2 and 3 as well.
Sidney's mom?
Yeah, everything Sidney's mom did screwed up Billy and Billy's mother, and then ultimately what she did long ago screwed up the person who told Billy and Billy's mother about what happened, which got them to do what they did in Scream and Scream 2. I like that. I like that this movie franchise has a continuing story that is unchanging and unyielding. Everything that happens and it acts as if it's real life. So I give the movie 3 stars for that. It's not as strong as the other ones, but I really like the characters. It's funny. I think it is one of, if not the funniest of the Scream movies. I like after Dewey just gets put through so much torment in Scream and Scream 2, it's fantastic when the killer throws the knife and you fully believe that it's going to enter into his skull, and the butt of the knife hits him and he falls down the stairs. That's probably the funniest thing I've ever seen. It makes me laugh hysterically every time I see it. I've seen the movie a lot. So yeah, I give the movie 3 stars. The killer, I didn't necessarily buy the motive, but at the end of the day, you're not really supposed to, and it's performed so well that it doesn't really matter anyway. The gentleman does an excellent job with that scene. So
Yeah, I love how, because this is, well, no, I saw 3 and 4 in the theater, but this is the first one I saw in the theater, and I loved how it began with at nighttime over the Hollywood sign and the helicopter light or whatever it was. It began with this huge, epic kind of, like this is going to be like the grandest, biggest Scream movie in a weird way. I just like how it opened with that shot, and basically it's starting off and showing you where we are. It's introducing the location, which is different from the first two, L.A. And this thing that I forgot to mention about the second one, which is Cotton Weary was fantastic, and was so much of a red herring. The thing they really did about 2 is, I think it was really a movie about a lot of, well, he was probably the biggest red herring in that movie, but the scenes he had were great because they completely could go either way. Exactly how he really was, or the crazy psycho. And he was just great in that, and to actually have it end the way it did with Cotton's the hero, which we didn't mention. Yeah. And Sidney doesn't even want any attention. Yeah. He does talk to him. I thought that was just
and what happens at the end of it? She was thrust into the spotlight in the first one. So in the second one, she's sort of in that spotlight. By the third one, she's not anywhere to be seen, but he is.
That's
the
just
face
it.
of television.
She's where she wants to be, as far away from everything as possible. And he's exactly where he wants to be. He's got his show, which I thought was genius.
Yeah, 100% Cotton. That was brilliant.
I gotta laugh. Yeah. I gotta laugh after I even say it. It was genius. And I think that even in that scene where he's driving, they had a billboard. I think it was a shot of a billboard. And so I thought that was a great way to start it. Wasn't too, they kind of tried to recreate the first beginning in a little way with his, was it girlfriend?
Yeah. And I would have just left that out. Made it just be about him.
Yeah, I think that's right. And one of the things I like the least about Scream 3 is the fact that, like, Creed, I'm not a big Creed fan.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the producer of Scream 3 or something, and how, like, that's, how I can see that opening scene with the girlfriend in the underwear or whatever, and just, I remember that, I'm assuming that's Creed came on, or whatever the hell it is. And so yeah, that was my funny thing about it. And also in Sidney's room in the set, it's like a Creed poster. It's just funny.
Yeah, originally it was the Indigo Girls from the first movie.
I just thought that was funny. Creed's an abomination, and
not anymore. They're no longer around. So
there you go. But so yeah, the beginning wasn't as good as the beginnings of the first two. The one new element they introduced in this movie, of course, is the
super voice changer.
The voice changer. So not is this only Ghostface, but which is kind of ridiculous.
I didn't like that.
It is stupid.
But what worked about that opening scene, I will say, is that by killing Cotton, you believe that everybody else.
That's just right.
They reused the Randy thing, and it worked really well.
The reason why they did the girlfriend thing though is because they had to. Well, they had to do that to introduce the voice. The voice changer.
I would have just left that out.
No voice changer.
I would have just had the Roger Jackson voice thing and keep that through, because it didn't really make sense. I was wondering how they were going to address that in the fourth one. Luckily, they just didn't.
They didn't. Right. Yeah. The voice changer in a way seemed like a cheap way to just make it confusing in a cheap, easy way. But I kind of actually, for the record, I kind of like Color Voice Changer, the production design of it, and the metal aspect and the light. I think when you talk in it, the lights go like that or something.
Yeah, apparently there's a lost deleted scene of the killer in the Ghostface costume programming the voices and like lifting them off of interviews and stuff like that. And I'm like, that sounds kind of cool in theory, but like if you look at that in your head and actually see what it looks like, that's kind of ridiculous. The guy is in the costume, like that's how he works in his basement programming.
Fast forwarding through the TV shows.
Like does Batman sit around and do things fully in bat costume in the
Even
Batcave?
they shot that, they say?
Yeah, Wes said they shot it and it just looked too funny that they left it and they didn't even put it in the deleted scenes.
You know, that would be something right out of the scary movies. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Like,
exactly right out of it. So, you can definitely tell that it's not a Kevin Williamson. He didn't have a part to play in it, but the thing is, I think the crew, Aaron Kruger that took on the reins, I think he did a competent job.
yeah, he did.
And actually, the more time that goes by, the more I do think it is pretty good. It could have been a lot worse.
He found their voices. And the hardest part is finding a character's voice. It's easy to change them
To change
in a bad
writers
way.
and keep the voices the same.
Like either make the characters not change or like Dewey would never say that. Like have him be like suddenly militaristic or something like that and be a typical hero. Like Dewey isn't Rambo and don't make him Rambo. They found Dewey perfectly. They found Gale perfectly. He found the voices for the characters just right. Like the Randy scene, you fully believe that that's a Kevin Williamson scene, like where Randy is sitting there talking and deconstructing like his little thing of God damn it, Paul, like that whole thing. Like I like that little touch, fun things like that. So he found their voices really well. What he didn't find was the mystery. Like the Scream 3 isn't a mystery because you can't sit there and figure out who done it. There aren't clues to who did it at the end of it. Where there, in the first movie, there are definitely clues. Like Billy and Stu pretty much come out and say it when they're at the fountain, and then in the second one, Mickey's always working on his video, and what happens? The killer's videotaping what's happening the whole time,
Oh, right.
and even
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
it to Dewey and Gale. Like, if that isn't the clearest clue of who the killer is, I don't know what is. If you were clever enough to catch on to it, I wasn't at the time. And so it completely surprised me when I watched the movie again. It's like, how did I not catch this? Like he was like panting in front of me. So the third one, there is no whodunit.
You might have something there. One thing I really, really liked, and that I think almost Kevin might have done, is having the fact that they're shooting, I don't know, they're shooting the third one or something like that. But the fact when Sydney goes in there and walks into the set of some of those locations from the first one, and especially her room in the house, and the fact that she actually did get attacked in the set of her house, and I think she ran up the stairs.
Yeah.
And I think she did the same door thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really neat. They reused the same thing and sort of made it a circular kind of movie. That worked so well.
Rounding it out in that way. And in a way, like even still to this day, I do kind of, by adding a 4, it doesn't, like I say, 4 doesn't diminish any of the ones that came before it, but it was nice to have a nice little trilogy in that aspect. Because it's funny how, we got like we got a Rambo trilogy, and then however many years later, 4. Scream trilogy, however many later, 4. Indiana Jones trilogy.
I would say that most cases, the 4 kind of was better than what came before it.
You mean some of the sequel?
Yeah, like Rambo 4 was better than Rambo 3. Live Free or Die Hard was better than 3 and 2 of the Die Hard movies.
So sometimes it does happen, but still,
it works. But
not in Indiana Jones.
No, it's the worst. Yeah.
But anyway, back to Scream 3. So yeah, and I also very much like the ending of the first one. That location, which I thought was a cool location for the ending of the third one, his house. I don't know what the hell the name of that guy, which is Lance Henriksen's character.
I forgot to mention him. Yeah, he's great.
He's great, and I do love that little that about Hollywood and you do get a little insight into that, and he's great in it.
Yeah.
And he does that character.
I love that his office has a diving board right directly outside of the window.
But
so
the lake is like, or
Yeah.
whatever, the water, what is it, a lake or
yeah.
something?
So
Is like,
yeah, it's so far away, but at the same time, like you have a feeling that like if things just get really bad, he's just gonna walk off
oh,
that
you
one
mean
day. Like
suicide?
yeah,
Oh, I
it's,
get
it's
it. Oh, yeah.
for when his career is entirely done. He's gonna go out his own way. Like that's how I sort of saw that. And he has the giant robot behind him to sort of symbolize the Terminator. I felt anyway.
Oh,
And he has an
oh.
alien above that, like not the
oh.
alien from the Alien movies, but I
Oh.
think the alien is supposed to represent like his attachment to those movies.
That movie. So yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of great things they did, and by having, I also thought it was a Kevin Williamson kind of a touch when, whatever her name was, Jenny McCarthy, is reading, I don't know, a scene and that was happening to her or something
Yeah.
as it was on page, and by having the killer be the director using that.
Yeah.
Is that even possibly one of those
Yeah.
one of those clues that you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, there
To a
is
certain
that.
extent.
But I mean, when you have the voice
Changer.
changer thing, that eliminates any form of clue that you could possibly have. The best scene in the movie is the last one, where she's in the house. She breaks through
That's
the
great,
gate
yeah.
and leaves them open because she's freed of her.
Yeah, that's why I think
problems.
that it was such a nice little package
Yeah,
for you
and
because of that ending.
it so ends
yeah,
so well.
it does end so
But
well.
the thing that is great is that it's maintained in the fourth one. She isn't the
Which
broken
we'll
character.
get into.
Yeah. So like, yeah.
So I'm gonna go 3 stars. Scream 3. It's fine. I really like it as a Scream
Yeah, I
movie,
like
but
it.
you know, it's fine. All right, catch you later.